First, we'll talk about the Middle Ages. It'll set the bar for the next stages. Skirt, 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 skirt. After the fall of Rome, and no place for anyone to call home, first signs of struggle with human condition arose. No one had what they needed. Maslow's pyramid was depleted. They say power cannot be created or destroyed, but lacking it would make anyone annoyed. This was the first sign of the fight for power, and they created the feudal tower. This was a capability that gave them stability. It started with a contract to keep it intact. The names were Rollo, but he didn't ride solo. He was a Viking, one of many, who signed with the king, Charles the Simple. Some important stuff happened. They invented the plow. Also, they didn't have to work like a cow. It'll be seen again more in later stages, but for now, in the Middle Ages, they're done working for minimum wages. They left their manors and moved to towns, ended the feudal system, changed the power. They added the middle class, ruined the tower, but the middle class had sass, so they made a new start in urban centers. They did this with art, crusades, and plague, and now this is where the Renaissance enters.
Over time, you will come to see it is power that changes our society. There's a cause and effect, which in this rap we will dissect. The feudal system is gone, the middle class is here. It made a new tier. Power is gonna change more, just wait and see. Now this is why power doesn't differentiate you from me. 5 causes. When the Middle Ages ended in 1492, the Renaissance began and brought a new view. After the Crusades and the end of the plague, people became skeptic, risked being a heretic. From Al-Andalus and the fall of Constantinople, new ideas came, down went the nobles. The invention of the printing press helped end education's rest. Universities and art were products of the start. The innovation of the plow caused a big kapow. Urban centers began to appear in lots of places, especially by the piers. The middle class and merchants filled these with no tear, and Machiavelli said it's better to be feared. More art ideas and innovation came, and so a lot of other people did the same. Over time, you will come to see it is power that changes our society. There's a cause and effect, which in this rap we will dissect.
People began to use their brains, trying to escape all the church's little games. Humanism, individualism, secular and skepticism, worldly pleasures, just old-time materialism. Humanism, studying Greek and Roman texts, brought human achievement to great new depths. Individualism, artists wanted recognition, started signing all of their new commission. Secularism, a focus less on religion, more on life rather than superstition. Skepticism, question everything. Who is it exactly that we are worshiping?
Over time, you will come to see it is power that changes our society. There's a cause and effect, which in this rap we will dissect.
Next, the hierarchy will disappear. We're gonna make this whole process clear. Times are quickly changing with the Renaissance. The church's abuse was getting a response. First it started with heretics Hughes and Wycliffe, who ended in fire for their mischief. Martin Luther grew up in a monastery praying to the Lord. At first this was all voluntary. Traveled to Rome to be enlightened, only to find the power of the church had tightened. Martin Luther, with his 95 theses posted on the Church of Wittenberg, he releases simony, indulgences and nepotism, all of these problems, time for some activism. He's kicked out, excommunicated, monarch and church were getting frustrated. The diet of worms or a diet of worms? Luther was asked to recant under the church's terms. He refused, accepting fiery death. Before he could be heroic, the prince is swooped in out of breath. They hid him away, for power is all they wanted. Luther was oppressed, but he was undaunted. Luther's cause was not for nothing. The church's promises, people stopped trusting. He brought more power to kings and knights, division and unrest, people wanted rights.
Over time, you will come to see it power that changes our society. There's a cause and effect, which in this rock we will dissect.
God, glory, gold, these explorers bold. Innovations improve, invited them with movement magna, circumnavigated the globe. Guess the earth isn't flat, take that, Pope. Prince Henry Navigator didn't explore, but he made a school only some could afford. Diaz rounded Africa, I'm serious. That's how Da Gama got to India, period. Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, got to the Americas, brought diseases too. Francisco Pizarro wanted one thing, he killed Guadalupe and took all the bling. Cortez was the same, he played the perfect game. He extorted the Aztecs just to take his fame. Guns, germs, and steel, Jared Dime revealed. That's a disadvantage, Native people's challenge. Because of the plow, they took over the town. This is American colonization. It was a time for a new organization. The natives couldn't behave, they went and got us slaves. Now from the 16 to the 19, we were shipped north to west. A new kind of slavery, there was only disrespect. They handled us like cargo, examined and stripped down like the whole wide world was their playground. To say goodbye to your hometown, look at us now. They forced us to live, but care less if we didn't. Diseases and illness had many bedridden. We spent over 2 months in this bliss until 1750. A fifth didn't make it. Too bad for those who did. They were washed and shaved, and their wounds were rubbed in oil, smoothed and glazed. Sold to plantations, split from friends and family. Seasoning they called it, forced to begin their tragedy.
Over time you will come to see it is power that changes our society. There's a cause and effect, which in this rock we will dissect.
France had a way, it isn't used often today. A constitutional monarchy, yeah, a huge hierarchy. It all starts off with the War of the Henrys. Henry de Guise, fighting with envy. Henry of Navarre takes the throne when his cousin's name is chiseled on a headstone. The first of the Bourbon kings, yeah, he mattered. His use of attendance, the noble shattered. He said that Paris is well worth a mass. Henry's sacrifice can never be surpassed. The Edict of Names was made for his people, freedom of religion to assure all were equal. But 12 years later, his reign came to an end, and it was time for a new king to ascend. Louis the 13th was only a pretend king. Richelieu worked and supplied him a ring. He took power from the nobles like a true leader. No more castles or walls either. Next up to the throne was Louis XIV. His control over the nobles was no sip of tea. He took their dignity, causing lots of misery. The Versailles added to his absolute monarchy.
Each unit offered a new power solution. In England, it was distribution. 1485, Henry VII took the crown after he and Elizabeth York said their wedding vows. To keep the Tudors in power, Henry VIII needed male heirs, justifying his countless affairs. Unfortunately, Edward VI was his only son, but by age 16, Ed's rule was done. After Ed came Lady Jane Grey, but after 9 days, her head rolled away. Mary first returned England to Catholicism, which subjected her to lots of criticism. Mary was succeeded by the Virgin Queen. The prosperity of her reign was completely unforeseen. Elizabeth was faced with countless challenges and woes. Each she overcame faster than I eat dominoes. Many men wanted to marry Queen Lizzie, to which she replied, "Sorry, I'm busy." She beheaded her cousin and defeated the Spanish Armada, all while following the Magna Carta. From King James' Bible are common phrases people write. True laws are free monarchies, disgusted rulers' divine right. Charles I tried to rule absolutely, which resulted in 11 years of tyranny. A civil war broke out between Charles I and Parliament. When it came down to his trial, he had no argument. William and Mary established a constitutional monarchy, protecting people's rights to life, liberty, and property. Over time, you will come to see
you didn't know, but wait, we're gonna show. When people have knowledge, they discover new things without even having to go to college. The Renaissance and Reformation aren't done yet. There's more to come, how what you wanna bet. This is where enlightenment comes in. It all started in the Middle Ages. Remember that time back multiple pages? As the art and thinking started in the Renaissance, there were more ideas in the Reformation, and they used Aristotle as their role model. These new thinkers won't settle for nonsense. I think therefore I am is what Descartes of France said. Wait till you see where that one little sentence led. The scientific method by Francis Bacon. You use it every day. It tells you why you think and then you say. It all came down to one little thing. Reason, reason, reason is how they figured out Charles I could commit treason. Now let's get into Locke and Hobbes. The two came up with government. They used one in England after the guilty one left. Put the ruler's madness to arrest. These guys came up with philosophy. That's how they came up with government. Actually, you see, they use a special theory, got their ideas into reason, just like how the scientists will discover the seasons. It can be used even when we're, you see, Galileo may have been wrong, it may have been dreary, but he led to Copernicus's heliocentric theory. Now other astronomers alike were able to say Psychen in Germany, if you were there to see. Kepler discovered the planetary laws of motion. It may have caused a commotion. Then Newton came in, discovered the color spectrum, laws of motion, and gravity. Now when they all drop the mic, he's able to say, that's why I see. But before Galileo could say, nope, I'm done, he came up with a telescope, just like the ones who studied anatomy, because they had to see, as Vesalius mapped the human body. And Jenner did something cool too. Yeah, he came up with vaccines so you can be healthy.